Well, hi everyone and welcome back. My name is Alton. I'm so glad you could join me. If you know anything about EDC, that is everyday carry, you know that a good EDC needs three things: a knife, a pen, and a watch. Well, EDC company, the James brand, has partnered with Timex to create a limited edition watch aimed at EDC crowd. And this is it here. It is the Timex Expedition North Titanium 41mm automatic watch, presented in collaboration with James brand. Is it any good? Let's find out. So I myself have not gone down the EDC rabbit hole, and I have done that intentionally. Why? Because my wallet thanks me for doing so. I just know, and if you're an EDC fan watching this, I just know I would get sucked into having 20 knives in my cabinet before I knew it, and fountain pens and all kinds of stuff. $50 carabiners that I see on the James brand website. And so it only made sense that James brand would partner with Timex, two iconic brands at the moment, and this is what they have produced. Now, what I'd like to do is get into the specifications, the pros, the cons, and then give you my final thoughts. And we'll ask the question, should you spend your hard-earned dollars on this watch? The James brand Expedition North Titanium has a case width of 41mm, a lug-to-lug of 49.4, a thickness of, they say, 12.5mm, but when I measured it, it came in at 13.1mm, and a strap and lug width of 20mm. The case material is bead blasted titanium. It actually looks pretty good. It has a screw-down crown with the James brand Clovis inlay on the crown. The crystal is sapphire with an AR coating. It has a water resistance of 200 meters. C3 Superluminova on the hands and indices. And the watch movement is a mechanical automatic. And I had to do some digging. On the back on the rotor, it says Miyota, Japan. That doesn't really tell us a whole lot, but after wearing it for a bit, I knew exactly what it was. This was a Miyota 821 movement. Why? Is it noisy? And so it would appear that this is a Miyota 821 series movement, and this is an older Miyota movement in the series that does not hack. I repeat, does not hack. And the watch comes in at 450 Canadian dollars or 349 US dollars. And the model that I have here in front of me, if you check the side of the case back, says number 72 of 500. That's right, this is a limited edition to 500 pieces. And so there are only 500 of these presumably in the world. I don't think they go by country. And I have one in my hand, so that is pretty cool. I'd like to give a big shout out to Guillaume, who is Papa Gritch EDC on Instagram, for loaning this in. Please check out his page. He has a great and growing collection of watches. He's always showing me something new that has showed up. He's very passionate about EDC, so definitely check him out. Let's talk about the pros. Number one, the materials that are used. Titanium. On the James brand website, it says that Timex hasn't used titanium in over 20 years. I haven't verified that. I don't know. I'm not a Timex expert, but that is what they're claiming. And titanium is a fantastic material for a watch, especially a field watch, because it is light. I have been wearing this. I've worn it 2 days on my wrist, and I have to tell you, there were times when I went to put a watch on because I didn't realize I was wearing a watch. That's how light titanium is. And it's not a small watch, 41 millimeters and over 13 thick. I mean, it's got some size to it, but it is extremely comfortable. Secondly, in terms of materials used, sapphire crystal. Yes, Timex, you are using sapphire. And it says that it's AR coated. I can't confirm, but I will say it's fairly legible. Yes, please keep using sapphire crystals. We want them. We can buy them on $80 AliExpress watches with, might I add, a similar movement, Timex. The case is actually fairly attractive. It is a simple design, reminds me kind of my Orient Defender in the bead blasted nature and the design of the watch to a degree. Obviously there are differences. The color is quite enjoyable on titanium. It does scratch. I'm not going to put that as a con because that's just something inherent to the material. It does scratch fairly easily, but titanium is light. It looks good. The bead blasting is nice and evenly finished. And yeah, I'm a fan. Number 2, a clean and legible dial. At first I kind of thought, especially from images online, that this dial was a little boring. It's a black dial with 24-hour markers and a open chapter ring around the outside and applied indices. But after a while, I started to realize that those applied indices kind of catch the light and they sparkle and they add just a little bit of dynamics to what is otherwise a pretty straightforward dial. Now, it is a field watch. You don't want fancy and complicated with a field watch, but you also don't want boring, do you? Especially when you're paying $350 US for a watch. And I would say that having this in hand, it's actually quite surprising. The center portion of the hands where it meets the pinion are in black and they kind of disappear into the matte dial, which is an interesting effect. So as they go around, you don't see the full length of the markers unless you're looking closely. I kind of enjoy that. It gives it a bit of a surprise. The hour and minute hand are quite chunky, quite filled with C3 lume, as you'll see later, although the rest of it is lacking in the lume department. And they got the seconds hand right. James, you must have said, hey, Timex, we saw your other camp, and the seconds hand looked like it had been left in the dryer for 6 hours. Put a proper length seconds hand on this, and they did. So I would have to say, in comparison to my mechanical hand wind, this dial has it beat. Number 3, this watch has 200 meters of water resistance. On the website, James says that, I don't know if there's a dude named James, but we're going to call him James. James says that he pushed for 200 meters of water resistance, and I think that was a fantastic move. So unscrewing the crown, there isn't much of a pop, but you do get a sense that it is solid. There isn't much wiggle to it, and it screws down quite nicely. So if you have a field watch, especially on a NATO like this, you want to have that 200 meters of water resistance, at least 100, and they've doubled that, which I think is fantastic, which puts Hamilton watches mostly to shame. Number 4 is the collaboration with the James brand. I think this is a genius move. Timex is a great go-to for the everyday carry crowd, and I think that's because they're affordable and they're rugged and they're easy to obtain. And as we all know, when we get further down this road, we want more and more. Just ask Guillaume, who is always showing me a new watch that he has picked up for his collection, this being one of them. And so I think it was a great move, and I think they've made a great watch. So if you're a fan of EDC, I'm sure you're delighted to have a watch with one of your favorite brands on the dial. Let's talk about some cons for a moment. The first thing I'd like to point out is that it is a little thick for a field watch. I was wearing it under a sweater, I had my coat buttoned up over it, and actually it was getting really tight, and I'd wished I'd had a thinner watch. When it comes to a field watch, I like it more around the 12 millimeter or under, if possible. And there's no need for this to be as thick as it is. A lot of it is that exhibition case back. And let's be honest, Miyota 8000 movement isn't a whole lot to look at. So why they need an exhibition case back, I really don't know. Number 2 is easily sorted out, but the 2-pass strap that it comes on, technically not a NATO strap, that is a trademark term, but this 2-piece strap is quite lovely. The strap is all black, although with the weaving on the strap, it almost looks like a very subtle James Bond pattern in certain lights. It has a nice titanium colored buckle and keepers. I don't think they're titanium. I think they're probably colored. That's what it sort of suggests on the website. But there is a fatal flaw. This strap is just too short. Check it out on my wrist. I can't get the extra length of strap in the second keeper. And so there's just this keeper sticking out in the middle of nowhere, and it looks weird. It feels weird. If they had made the second keeper a floating keeper, then you could slide it back up and it would be so much better. Now, I don't love a lot of extra length in a strap like this, but it should at least tuck under the keepers. I have an 8-inch wrist. Maybe if you're wearing this and you have a 7-inch wrist or a 6.5-inch wrist, you'll be able to tuck it in. But for me, it's no bueno. Number 3 is so frustrating. It's my biggest pet peeve with this watch because I really, really like this watch. And that is the movement. Timex, what were you thinking? Did you have a bunch of Miyota 8000s laying around in a box somewhere, 500 of them somewhere from 2019? Because this movement has been hacking for a long time. So what in the world are you doing? Why are you putting an outdated 8000 series in here? Why can't you at least put the updated version with hacking in this? I mean, an EDC guy is going to want to have a very exact time. And I get it, these movements aren't the most reliable movements in the world in terms of accuracy. I understand, but at least you'd like to start at your day at the 0 hour, getting this perfectly in time. You're going to go to your digital watch or the atomic clock on your computer. You're going to set this before you go out on your fishing trip, and you just want to know what the time is to the closest degree. And you're not going to be able to do that with this movement. It is so frustrating, especially at $350. I get the quality materials, I get the titanium, I get all of that. I just think this watch could have been so great with a hacking movement. And if you'd put a Miyota 9000 in here, oh man, this would be a no-brainer for me. This would be a watch that I'd absolutely want to have in my collection. Well, the number 4 con is that it is limited edition. Now, this is both a plus or a minus, depending on how you think of it. Some of you are going to absolutely love that you have something that only 499 other people will have on their wrist. And I see that. That is pretty cool. But also, might I offer, this is a really cool watch. And I think a lot of people would want to have this. And so to only offer 500 of them, to me, is a con. And the biggest con out of this is not just the exclusivity, but the price fluctuation this exclusivity is going to bring about. You're going to find these on eBay going for much more than it's worth, much more than it should be. You're going to find people who are into this brand and who are into Timex who just need to have this, and they're going to spend hundreds more than they should. And I just think that that is a shame. So overall, what do I think of this Timex James brand crossover? I think it's a great watch. If you've got one, I think you're going to enjoy it. I did read a few reviews online. Some people absolutely hated it. They thought the strap was cheap. They thought the watch felt cheap. I don't really feel that way about this watch. Priced at $350, you're getting close to a $350 watch that has great heritage with the Timex brand, and then that fresh newness of the James brand. And so I think if you're into EDC or you're just into cool field watches, you would enjoy this watch if you can get it for the MSRP or close to it. Well, I'd like to thank Guillaume for passing this on. I'd like to thank you for watching. I'd like to thank my 1,500 subscribers. Yes, that's right. We finally made the 1,500 mark, which means that I need to figure out how to have this giveaway wrapped up pretty quickly. So I will be making a video in the next few days about the winner of that awesome Casio upgrade metal kit. Check out a video a couple videos ago for information on that. But again, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned a little bit. And if you want to, like and subscribe if you've made it this far in the video. But of course, I can't tell you what to do. Why? Because I'm not your dad.